What's something that is romantic in movies but creepy in real life? Turning up at your door with flowers. I once had a chap do this to me. I'd cancelled the first date as I got a creepy vibe from him. He stalked me online. Found my address. Drove 3 hours and turned up with a dozen red roses. Luckily I got a family member to answer the door and say I wasn't there, as he texted me half an hour before to ask whether I was home. I later let him know that this was not okay. Not taking no for an answer. Singing at someone. Recently watched Top Gun again and the scene in the bar is so disgusting. Then he follows her into the bathroom, even when she is there with another man and had told him no. Telling someone you have feelings for them using handwritten signs and a cheap tape player outside their home just weeks after their wedding at which you were the best man while her husband who is your best friend sits inside watching a fucking quiz show. Romantically throwing rocks at someone's window to get their attention. Bruh, you better be ready to pay for insurance. Uneasy face. Having scream fighting matches with your partner constantly because you're both so passionate, like in The Notebook, like, nah bro. You're just incompatible. That shit ain't cute. Social interaction. Sending an ogre and a donkey to rescue them from a castle so you can force them to marry you so you can become a king to make up for your small stature. Basically everything you see in rom-com/romance relationships. / not taking no for an answer. / turning up unexpectedly. / threatening to hurt yourself if they don't date you. / using big public displays of affection to show you're worthy of love, just public humiliation for the crush. The list is very, very long. Kissing someone who is asleep. Pretty much everything that happens in rom-coms. That scene in The Notebook. You know. The movie that is world-renowned as essentially being the most romantic film/story ever. Where Noah climbs out onto the bars of a Ferris wheel at the top and essentially threatens suicide if someone who is basically a stranger and who is there with her boyfriend doesn't agree to go out with him. What the fuck was that? Standing outside someone's window blaring music. You are like 98% of people have at least one crazy neighbor who would call the cops if someone pulled that shit IRL. And all of what is essentially stalking, gaslighting, manipulation, etc. That gets people to fall in love with the other person. Take 50 Shades. For example, while the movies did do a better job of making it a more realistic / not super abusive relationship than the books did, it still was not okay. Christian bought the company Anna worked for because he was so angry about her keeping her job instead of basically just being his sugar baby that he decided the only way he'd allow it is if he owned the company and could control everyone who was around her. In the books there's a part where one of his ex-subs, who surely was also abused, comes back because she's still obsessed with him and he gives her a bath. When Anna angrily confronts him about it he says it wasn't anything sexual and was just like taking care of a child. Which, even if true, doesn't make bathing another woman okay when you're in a supposedly committed relationship. So yeah, TLDR, everything in romantic stories / movies / etc. LOL. When people talk like really close to each other's faces. Like 2 inches apart. Someone coming home and finding their entire apartment full of flowers when the sender obviously had no legal way to get in. Chasing someone who already said no multiple times. If someone is already in a relationship trying to break them up. Love at first sight. No, that's just lust and desire. Breaking into your crush's house and laying on their bed. Movies, oh he misses her, that's sweet. Real life, you going to jail. It's almost a better question to ask what isn't creepy. Not sharing the door you're floating on in the middle of the freezing Atlantic Ocean after you survive the capsizing of the Titanic. Obsessive and unrequited love sometimes spanning years that ultimately succeeds because the less interested party gets worn down. And realizes they're a big dummy and they loved them after all. Edit rip my inbox. Good thing I have nothing better to do this week so I'm reading all your replies. I'm seeing a lot of this worked out for me. I'm sure it did. Not everyone meets and falls in love on the same schedule and sometimes it's all in the timing. I'm happy so many of y'all found an amazing person to spend your lives with. Maybe you're the exceptions and not the rule. Maybe I'm bitter no one's obsessed with me, JK. That being said, I think being deluded and obsessed with someone where you've built them up in your head and have an idealized version of who they are is unhealthy. You don't want to be Harold from the stand, lol. Also PS tie for the awards. I know acknowledging them is lame, but my good manners never allow me to ignore it. The woman saying no. No 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 no, no, NNYY, yes, yes, yes. You be going to jail, my friend. Maybe more disgusting than creepy, but having spontaneous sex than just putting their clothes back on and going about their day without even cleaning themselves up. I don't like sand. It's all coarse. And rough. And irritating. And it gets everywhere. Stopping someone's wedding and asking them to be with you. Really? You couldn't shoot your shot before the wedding? It's not a surprise event. You're really going to embarrass everyone involved and destroy their wedding day when you could have just showed up last Wednesday? The way that love is portrayed in many classic movies, man finds woman attractive - woman says no - man says come on - woman says no - repeat - at some point he might even force himself on her. And while he forces his kiss on her, she suddenly realizes that this is what she wants. What do these kinds of movies teach little boys about love? No actually doesn't mean no, she just doesn't know it yet. Also, has anyone been rewatching some of the old sitcoms from the 90s? I didn't really realize this as a kid, probably because many of the shows had very similar patterns and it was just the normal way of portrayal. But how creepy is it? That Steve Urkel constantly stalks and harasses Laura. Then puts himself in some sort of victim role. Because saying no to the guy who loves her so much is so mean. He then even guilts the whole family into allowing him to live in the house. And in the end Laura marries him. This is really just Stockholm Syndrome and not romantic. Bumping into the same person over and over again. Edit, whoa. Thanks for the awards and all the comments. Never had this happen before, lol. In The Notebook, Ryan Gosling's character literally builds a house for his ex-girlfriend a decade after they split. Who is now married to somebody else. Imagine if that was real life. Imagine your teenage boyfriend out of the blue just built a house and expected you to move in with him. Creepy AF. Never saying goodbye at the end of a phone call and just putting the phone down. Therapists dating or having sex with their patients. Oh, but they have such a deep connection. No, that's a malpractice lawsuit in the making. Pick you up at 8. More specifically, they meet for the first time, have a connection. He suggests dinner. She's charmed. Then he says pick you up at 8 and then they part ways. No phone number. No address. Sometimes no agreement. But sure, it's a date and they're at the restaurant next scene, so why not? Relentlessly pursuing an ex who clearly doesn't want you back. Sorry dude. Leaving wine and roses in your ex-girlfriend's car while she's at work isn't cute. It's super creepy and stalkerish. Adam Sandler in Big Daddy. He gets dumped. So he decides to adopt a child and present the kid to his ex in the hopes that she will come back to him and raise the kid with him as one little happy family. Cut to her obviously saying no, because who would say yes to this? Then at the end of the movie, they had to have a scene where he, now successful and happily taken, runs into his ex working tables as a waitress. Just perpetuates the idea that a woman should stand by her man, wait for him to be the man he's meant to be. And if she doesn't, it'll be her loss in the end. An overdramatic proposal in front of a bunch of strangers. Literally everything in the 50 Shades movies. Pretty much every film where the lead guy follows around his love interest and badgers her into a date despite telling him no multiple times. Also the trope where two guys fight over a woman who gets absolutely no say in who she dates. Staring at you while you sleep. Looking at you, Edward Cullen, you creepy ass son of a bitch. When couples are fake dating and trying to convince their family. Then the family forces them to kiss in front of everyone to prove their love. No family would ever do this in real life. It's fucking weird. Like, please. Make out in front of Nana and your Uncle Ken. I needed this thread between the ages of 14 to 18. I tried so hard with best intentions and got nowhere. Then I stopped trying for a year and met the wife. Thanks for watching.